What's up, everybody? Welcome to Space Arena Ground Arena, where we cover Star Wars Unlimited from the ground up into space. I'm Banana Crapshoot, and here I am joined with a very special first-time guest on the show. Many of you know him from The Force Unlimited or that guy that runs SwooDB. We have Parker. Parker, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I think the ratio of people who know me from one to the other is about 50. So I think we're creeping up on like 1,000 Force Unlimited users and like creeping up on 50,000 SwooDB users. So
It's about 50.
excited to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. So what? Just a few questions for you.
How are you gonna make me sing for my supper? Okay, I see how it is.
Yep. So, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?
Movie. I kind of want to say make a spicy take and say The Last Jedi, which I am quite fond of, but that's probably going to come in at 2 or 3. Actually, I think if I'm being real honest, my favorite is Rogue One. In large part, it's hard for me to rate that independently, but without Rogue One, we wouldn't have Andor. And Andor's like, I mean, I guess without New Hope, we wouldn't have any of it, right? But
Yeah.
but Rogue One as the kind of like pre-culmination of Andor. I came to Star Wars a little later, I think, than probably a lot of Star Wars fans. And so coming at it a little later, I really think I like all the movies, or at least tolerate all the movies. I'm pretty fond of all of them. It's all, my official answer is Rogue One.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you like a war movie buff that is like
No,
thing for
actually,
you?
the opposite. I really like science fantasy. I like space opera. I like Dune and Foundation. I come from a Star Trek background. The moral questions presented in Andor resonate with me, and again, it's hard to separate the two because the characters now are all so much tied up. There are moments from all of them. I grew up with the original trilogy on TBS. We didn't have them on even VHS or DVD. And then I
So
was right at the
every
right age.
Thanksgiving,
Oh
you
yeah,
got to watch them on
yeah,
TBS.
exactly,
Is that the
right.
deal?
Yeah, and I remember sneaking in because I didn't have the money to watch Meet Joe Black. I don't know if anybody remembers Meet Joe Black. It's a movie with Brad Pitt. It's like a romance movie where he plays Death and Anthony Hopkins, and but it was the first movie to show the trailer for The Phantom Menace. And we didn't have the internet where if a trailer was in theaters, it would, so like I remember sneaking in to see the trailer for Phantom Menace. So like I've been fond of Star Wars my whole life, but my son is really into it, and my love of the fandom has kind of grown up as he's grown up. So
Is Cassian Andor your favorite Star Wars character then? That was gonna be my next question. Who's your favorite Star Wars character?
if we're allowed to include Legends, I'm going to go with Dash Rendar because I was Nintendo 64 age in high school, and the Han Solo XP was definitely my jam. The like grittier, edgier, big shoulder pads, 90s
Right.
Han Solo was my jam, and the YT 2400 is my favorite ship. But yeah, I think live action characters. Definitely gonna go with Cassian Andor as my favorite, like top billing. I'm sure there's a deep cut character that I am more passionate about. Sorry, I just got back from PAX West, and my brain is like fried. I like spent all of my like Star Wars neurons are all just burned out
Yeah.
from doing that. So
That's fair. Did you have a good time at PAX West?
I did. I got to play a bunch of draft. One of draft is a little weird. Had the wildest draft I've ever played of 3 people on my left who were cold, hard sharks. Some I recognize from Portland, and the 3 people on my right were just coming off of the learn to play tables, and so they were still figuring out how colors worked. So the signals in that game were just, it was real rough, like it was just like this super clear signals coming from one side, just absolute chaos and randomness coming from the other. And but that was a Cad Bane 28 card Underworld with 2 McClunky draft, which was
There you go.
I was really sad it was best of 1 because that it was fun to just crush with that deck over and over and over again. So
Cad Bane is the best
yeah.
character, so it makes sense.
I mean, the learn to play tables were hopping. A lot of people obviously learning how to play the game. The Portland community came up to Seattle in force, which was really great. Got to meet Tyler, got to meet Alicia. I've been watching so many streams, it feels like I know them, but they obviously have no clue who I am. So it was nice to actually like interact with them. I played a game with Tyler and took the pain off of him, which he's playing jank and I was playing my meta deck, so that's not really fair to him. But my co-host Ned plays almost exclusively Grand Inquisitor, which is what Tyler was playing, and I just have so much experience with those lines. Like, I don't think Grand Inquisitor has anything that I haven't seen 1,000 times. Like, it's less that I know the lines in my deck and more I knew the lines against Grand Inquisitor. I knew every card that would drop in GI. So yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. It was my first nerd convention and I had a lot of fun.
Good. What's your favorite, like, 2 or 3 decks to play right now?
My favorite decks right now are Ray, Cad Bane, Han 2 in blue. But I'm really trying to ditch my timminess and try to lean into being a bit more of a spike. So I've been playing Han 2 blue and old school villainy Boba in yellow, just trying to learn the decks that are good regardless of I just like I like casting big creatures.
Yeah,
which is why I think Han 2 blue is my favorite, because you get to cast really big creatures faster. And really excited about Twilight because I think blue's my favorite color, just all the big butts. But it's been a very villainy themed color at the competitive level, and I don't think I'm at that skill level to run control. And I'm certainly not at the abstain from bathrooms and snacks level to play control. And go to 55 minutes, go to 55 minutes, go to 55 minutes. I need those breaks to grab a sandwich and a beer between games. So
yeah,
I'm excited to see maybe blue swing around a little bit to heroism at the competitive level.
yeah, I get it. I talk a lot about boss monsters, right? And big fan of playing the boss monsters. So
I mean, you got to know the lines, right? Like, I mean, there's no better way to beat a deck than to know what you're scared of when you're playing the deck. So I just like playing kind of like Timmy combo-y decks, like decks where you just keep playing good stuff and every card that you draw feels good even if you're losing. It's one of the reasons I really enjoy Han 2 Blues. I think it's a competitive deck. I think it's a good deck, but I think it's the hands down the best deck in SWU to lose with. I think it's not what you want to be doing. Obviously, you want to be winning. But if you're going to lose, I think Han 2 Blue is the most fun to lose because you're just dropping these huge units with a lot of enter to play effects. You're dropping units with some leave the battlefield effects. And so just stuff is happening. You're not setting up. You're just trying to you are setting up. You are playing lines. But so many of your cards are just fun when they enter, fun when they leave. So even if your board just keeps getting wiped, you keep getting denied. It's still super fun to lose with.
Yeah, I get it. My group's a big fan of Han too, so definitely get it. It's a lot of fun. The main event for why we're here.
Yeah.
FFG was lucky enough to give us another preview card for set 3. Twilight of the Republic's a huge shout out to Xander and everybody at FFG for hooking us up and being able to preview a card. Kennedy Hawk, I'll just throw this out there. Probably should have done this at the start. Kennedy Hawk is on another continent at the moment, and Mr. Ben was unavailable. So Parker was nice enough to join me last minute. So thank you again. I'm going to give you a couple stats, and I want you to tell me what you think just off those stats, and then we'll actually look at the card. Look at that. Where'd you get that?
You sent me this. I got this, man.
Oh,
I got 2 of them. I got the other ones in my bag. I was using it to hold my hand.
Nice.
And up at PAX, put it on the table. That's that whole holding hands down is new to me thing. That again, dodging scrub mentality. So no, I have 2 of them. I use them constantly.
Awesome. All right, so the card we have to reveal is Command Villainy. I'll give you the traits, and I'll see if you can guess what it's going to be called. It is a Separatist vehicle tank.
God, going to be make me embarrass myself. It's those giant rolly tanks.
You think it's a giant rolly tank? What do you get? I'll tell you, it has a keyword Exploit
Okay.
3.
Then it's going to be the spider tanks, the big ones, because those got to stomp on droids when they come in.
It
That's
has it has a cost of 9 base cost, right? So if you exploit 3, you could make it cost 6 less, so you could play it for 3.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Final answer is the giant is the spider tanks. I don't know if I'm right, but I'm going to stand by it.
So FFG
Ah,
sent us a Separatist super tank. It's a
wow.
ground unit. Command villainy 8/8 with exploit 3.
I feel like this is going to be the set. I feel like this is going to be the set where we get to see, like, where it's pretty obvious we're going to have 3 units in play. Like, I think this is going to be more achievable, whether it's worth it. But having 3 droids in play feels very doable. I feel like this is going to be. I think exploit has a bit of a potential to be a monster.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah, and Jake
and
Parker did the pirate battle tank too. So clearly he's got the lines for tanks.
oh yeah. It's a
Look at that
common
art.
also. So like if you're doing pre-releases and drafts and limited, like expect to see this everywhere, I would think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly. Right. In slower, limited formats, like at the pre-release, when everybody's just figuring out what's going on.
And we
We'll
already
have.
saw that one villainy event that just creates battle droids, right?
Yeah. 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 Oh no. Exactly. Or the one that like creates more battle droids, like on defeat. So I I'm curious to see how exploit plays out. That seems crazy. The ability. I mean, it creates setup, but I've played games where I've had uh, 3 resources or 3 units out at the start of turn 3, right? Resource turn 4. Heck, you only need 2 out. You can drop a 1 cost and then drop this if you can keep them around.
Yeah.
This seems absolutely nuts.
I feel like they have to introduce some sort or more like AoE type damage to counterplay like exploit, because exploit definitely seems like an exploitable keyword. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think some of the ones that we've already seen are going to become far more common. And I mean, obviously, if you can run overwhelming barrage, you pretty much universally do. But bombing run exists in certain decks, but bombing run stocks are up with exploit, right? Like, but yeah, and we saw OB today, right? That ping 1 on attack to just keep. You're going to want lots of pings because especially if exploit is as villainy heavy as it seems to be, you're going to want to keep those 1/1 droids in check. So just even lots of little ping damage to just keep things in check. Absolutely seems necessary. I do not think you can just be trading 1-to-1 into exploit decks.
No, not at all. Well, and even like the like exploit, I don't think we've seen a heroic card with exploit, right? They've all been villainous.
Or neutral, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's Grievous's pet? He's neutral green. So
The coordinate, on the other hand, seems to be more of a heroic keyword. And the same thing, like they want to go wide for a different reason because it turns on certain abilities. And the villainy decks, it looks like, want to go wide to play big things cheaper. So you're giving up like it's kind of a weird tempo play, right? Because you're trying to give up going wide for going big. Like you want to do one so you can do the other, which seems funny
my
to me.
instinct, I don't know if this is a spicy take, but the best uses of exploit are going to be less about getting lots of cheap units out to take advantage of exploit, and are going to be more about getting rid of, making maximum value out of depleted units. You've got a 3/3 that takes a hit and still only has 1, has 2 damage on it. So you've got something that's got a -4 because of another card or something. And so you've got like a couple units that got a lot of their value when they came out, and now you just can turn them into more value as opposed to trying to cheat things out. It's about maximizing what you have on the board into something even bigger, right? Like, you ever read that, follow that website, One Red Paperclip?
Nope.
Early days of the internet. Some guy traded his red paperclip. He wanted to see how far he could get just trading advantageously. So, and he traded it up to a house. Like he got a free, not essentially a free house out of a red paperclip. Like he traded the paperclip he traded the pen for like a phone charger back when those were expensive, and just kept trading for like a little bit more value. Worked his way up to like a beer cooler, and then worked his way up to like a smoker, and a cheap vehicle, a better vehicle, and an RV, so forth, so on, until he traded his way up to owning like some house in Alaska. Then he moved there. Crazy. So I feel like that's the value of exploit, is you're taking something that had value once, has less value now, and you're going to trade it into something, better.
Yeah, makes sense to me. You have any other thoughts on the Separatist super tank?
I'm very curious to see. This feels, because this is just exploit. And so if exploit is a villainy keyword, I'm curious to see how much is it how much is exploit green, right? Like how strong is it exploit in green? Because we've gotten a lot of cards, a lot of our exploit cards have been in green. And right now they're all we've got a villainy, we've got a red, and we've got a green. So I'm curious, like, what would a yellow villainy or a blue villainy exploit look like? Because this one is essentially vanilla exploit, right? Like it's not a vanilla creature, but once it's in, it doesn't do anything when it enters the battlefield. It doesn't do anything while it's on the battlefield. It's just stats. It's just pure beef. And so this really tells us, like, we've got this, and we compare it to the Hailfire tank, which was one of the big rolly tanks. That one's exploit 2, right? Pure beef. And so we've got now two exploit cards that do stuff, and 2 exploit cards that are just like beef that come in cheaper. And I'm curious how much of that overlaps, how that color shakes out. Like you said, it's mostly in villainy, but how does that shake out across the 4 non-morality colors? This feels like the just absolute pure beef exploit. I'm excited to see it in a wide variety of colors, but the Timmy in me loves this card. Thank you for letting me be here, and this has got to be one of the Timmier exploit comments. I'm excited.
Yeah. The card I was thinking of that creates a Battle Droid token isn't an event. It was that 3-cost Battle Droid Escort. The 1/1 when played, when defeated, create a token. I was thinking that was an event. So
yeah, and that one creates 3 for 1 card though. But it so you're always essentially you got 2, just exploit out of that, grab another one. Like, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of low end generate tokens. I think exploit's going to be cheaper to get at than we might hope for, because if they're throwing this on, you compare like this to gore, right? Like the common to legendary split. Yeah. Like, but you get a couple keywords for. Admittedly, gore doesn't come until 6. I think this coming in at 3.
What's that?
This coming in at 3 is just, that's like, it's not just, a lot of the stuff seems like really overcosted, but 9 for 8/8 is like kind of within the realm of existing cards anyway, right? Like you look at something like all the AT-ATs, right? They're in there in the 8 to 9 cost range and they're all 8/8, 9/9s. So 9 for 8/8 is not playable, but not crazy and limited to begin with. Getting this for 3 just seems insane. So
yeah, and Gore can play, or Han 2 can play Gore for 5 because he can use his action to play it for 1 less, and then still exploit. So
you can exploit off of Han 2. That also, glad I said that was my current favorite deck, because that's just like a whole lot of more good stuff for my current favorite deck. Then not this, obviously, but it's crazy to think that, like, I wonder if there are any exploits, because Han 2 has all of those, is damaging up all the units.
Yeah.
And with his discount of 1, playing one color off might not be absolutely insane for certain effects.
Yeah.
He's got a field full of damaged field, board state. Drop in something even bigger.
Yeah. And then we saw like the Royal Guard attaché that like deals 2 damage when it's played. So maybe there's stuff coming this set too that also plays off of other damaged units to build off that. Like that could be like a sub theme.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how capture, because we have capture in Twilight, right? So like the capture keyword, the capture mechanic continues into Twilight of the Republic, but then you've also got units like the Naboo, the Royal Guard attaché that don't want to be captured, because if you capture them, they just come back without that damage because they don't take the damage on the end of the battle. So like,
Yep.
I'm very curious to see what state captures in. After all the previews shake out.
Do you think maybe we see like, because I feel like the capture in set 2 is very fair for the most part. I wonder if we see like reprints of capture cards and not a whole lot of new ones.
Yeah, objectively, I am very fascinated and curious to see how reprints play out. My wager is that we'll probably get a similar situation of Shadows where there's 4 or 5 key reprints in draftable cards, and then 10-ish in the starter deck, just to put things in that you need putting in. Like it's crazy because like I could see a reprint of Dooku in Grievous's deck. Obviously, they're not going to reprint Mace Windu in Ahsoka's deck. I don't think you're ever getting a starter set legendary. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I'd be curious to see what they reprint. But I mean, we have a new capture card in Twilight, so I think we'll continue to have. I'm very curious. I think capture becomes much more important in set 3, just because exploit is such a tempo mechanic. Make a quick sacrifice now to get big value now, and tempo and captures that tempo removal. Get rid of it now; it'll come back later. And if you on turn 3, turn 4, and get rid of all your cards, then this gets captured. You have no board, right? Like this is you just used up your board to get this out, and then capture removes it. And sure, you will get your 8/8 back, but how are you, it's that much harder to do on an empty board. So I feel like my shoot from the hip, we've previewed 19, 20 cards take, is that exploit decks will be very susceptible to capture.
I think that's super fair, and I think you're right on with that. Very high risk, high reward.
That's how I like to play. So, if the game's over quick, there's time to grab a beer, right?
There you go. That was the main focus for tonight, was the preview card. So thanks again to Xander and everybody at FFG for sending that over to us. Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, like I said, I'd love to come back sometime and talk to Mr. Ben and Kennedy.
For sure.
Love listening to you guys. Been a fan since very early. I mean, you guys were one of the first, and now everybody's making content. I mean, there's a reason why I hashtag our podcast Yet Another Swoo podcast, because I feel like there were already so many when we started. But I remember the first months when you guys were one of the only ones putting out content and just being so hyped for every episode. So this feels like a bit of a watershed, moment for me. So thank you very much for having me on the show.
Yeah, we'd love to have you again. Thanks again for jumping on last minute. Why don't you shout out all your stuff, right, so people know where to find you, listen to my segments.
Yeah, my podcast is The Force Unlimited, which is dry as heck. We're a very, very niche, specific Star Wars Unlimited podcast. I have the data from SwooDB, my other project, and my co-host Ned is a statistician. And our goal is to be that's interesting of Star Wars Unlimited podcast. We don't have spicy takes. We don't do much in the way of predictions. We don't do meta or review or any of that. We will do a deep dive into the, what's the likelihood of you drawing enough cards off, how many 1s, 2s, and 3s you have to put in your deck to draw Vader, like mathematically, and all the weird math there and stuff. So, it's dry, but if you're into dry, we're the driest. And then, I feel like if you're listening to a Swoo podcast and you don't know SwooDB, please reach out, because I want to know how you can possibly exist in that Venn diagram. Maybe your wife, right? Like
Yeah.
You're in Kennedy and Mr. Ben's family is like, listen, who's listening to a Star Wars Unlimited podcast and doesn't use SwooDB. But yeah, that's my crazy project that I started on vacation 13 months ago as a lark, and now appears in basically all the content that I consume, which is very weird and never stops being weird for 1 second. Feels like we were just doing Shadows previews too. Like this morning when it kicked off with Twilight previews, I was like, how? Like, what year is it? Right? Like, oh my God! Like, how has it already been? Like, didn't we just do this? Like, this is it's been a long week. But yeah, that's my content. Use it, or for the two of you who are like, regression. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for linear regression in my Swoo content. Please come listen to us, because it's our 12 other listeners could use the company.
Please do.
Yeah. It's easy. TheForceUnlimited.com, which I bought before because I thought obviously SwooDB.com was obviously taken. So the first one I grabbed was TheForceUnlimited.com, and then I was like, oh, nobody bought SwooDB.com. How is that possible? It's a 5-letter .com URL. How is that still sitting out there? But so then I bought that, and I just had this other domain, and I was like, oh, that seems like a decent name for a podcast. And there we are.
There you go.
So,
awesome.
All right.
Thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Go check all that stuff out. I'll link it in the show notes, and we'll see you in the arenas.
All right.